is that I'm really impressed about your performance this week during your weekly discussion as well as your first paper. Very proud of your performance. I know you all put a lot of work into it. Just a couple of observations that I was able to gather from all of you reading all of your papers. First of all, let's make sure there is a cover paper to your page. You know, it kind of gives, okay, who wrote this paper? What was the course for? And things like that. The other thing, I said I'm not big on APA format. However, try to make it at least the minimum. Times New Roman, 12 font, keep the double spacing. As it relates to the content, make sure you have an introduction paragraph, a body, an elaborate of what your introduction was, and at the end, make sure you have a conclusion on what is your takeaway. Articulate in 1 or 2 sentences, what was your takeaway? What was your paper about? And then at the end, list out your references. Those are really helpful for me to understand what did you read in order to come up with that paper. List out your references in your weekly post, especially the initial one. Okay. Other than that, great job. I know it was a lot of work. Appreciated. You all did so good. Now, one more thing about the weekly post, and I do apologize not stressing it out earlier. Make sure that your first initial post is out there no later than Wednesday at midnight. It's part of your attendance and it can impact your grade. So initial post, from whatever you do it, Sunday, Monday, but no later than Wednesday at midnight. And then you have till Sunday at midnight to reply to at least to your peers. Most of you are following the rules, but I'm just wanting to make sure we are clear. The other topic I wanted to cover is the test, the CAPM tests. So really quick, you're going to have this test 4 times during the course. Week 2, week 4, week 6, and week 8. This is a test of around 50 questions. You will have 2 attempts each time, so don't really stress out, don't stress about it that much. The other thing I wanted to say here about the test, do your best, especially the second week, this week and the following, the week 4, you may not have grasped, or you had time to grasp all the material that is in those quizzes. However, do your best. I'm very open for week 2 and week 4 to adjust your scores in based on the overall class performance. So let's say if the highest score is 95, I'm open to give all of you 5 points. This is for week 2 and 4. However, remember, the last test is only 1 attempt, and most likely that week 8 test, I'm not going to be able to adjust in any way. So anyways, just stay open mind, read the questions carefully. Okay, read the questions from the beginning to the end, understand the meaning of the question, read each of the options and try to integrate each of the options into the question. Okay, so take your time, be patient. It's an open book test, so you can go back and look into your books and make reference to your questions. Some of the questions I have addressed in the previous video. I'm going to address some of the answers in this video as well. Read the questions, read the answers very carefully. However, if you feel there is a question that doesn't make any sense to you, the question, the answers, please feel free to reach out. And I'm very open to talk with you and to kind of communicate on, you know, why the approach is in a way or another. Okay, so now what I want to do a little bit of an understanding of the process groups. We talked last time about the process groups, but I wanted to give you a little bit of introduction about the knowledge areas in project management. And keep in mind, this is these knowledge areas in the process groups, they are related to PMBOK 6th edition. 7th edition is slightly different, but for your exam, this chart that I'm going to present here is going to be really helpful. Do not get intimidated by this chart. You are not expected to know all of it here, but part of it, yes. So let's just take it from the beginning. We said there are 5 project management process groups. Initiating is when we start the project. It's planning, when we start planning all the scope of the project. It's execution, when we execute what we plan. It's monitoring and control, which is throughout the project, and then it's closing the phase or the project. Okay, so remember, we said that these process groups are not sequential. Okay, now if you look down here, there are 10 knowledge areas. Don't get distracted by this number here. This is actually the chapter number in PMBOK. I don't want you to get distracted about that. Just remember, the knowledge areas are project management integration, project integration management, scope management, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communications, risk, procurement, stakeholder. Okay, so remember these 10 knowledge areas. Why they are very important along the process, especially in the planning process, but also in the execution, and most importantly, in the monitoring control. Okay, so really quick, what I want you to remember, when I initiate a project, the first thing first is I develop a project charter. This project charter is actually a very high level understanding of the project. What is the scope? What we are trying to accomplish? What will be a very high level cost? It doesn't get into details. What will be a high level schedule? Okay. Also, this project charter authorizes project manager to be the person in charge for the project. And remember, there are 2 people in charge of the project. It's the project manager and the sponsor. Sponsor authorizes the project manager to be in charge. And then during the initiating process group, okay, when I initiate my project, when I started, other than developing the project charter, is identifying the stakeholders. Who are the people that are working on the project and or they are impacted by the project? Keep in mind, a stakeholder is anyone that touches or is impacted by the project. A stakeholder can be the project manager, the sponsor, the vendor, the customer, the team member, the developer, the network, anyone that touches or is impacted in any way or another by the project is a stakeholder. And it's very important that at the beginning of my project, we identify them. Why? Because they will be impacted by the project. And actually, what we are going to have here, so here we are going to have a project charter. Here we are going to have a stakeholder register. Keep those thoughts in mind for when you initiate a project. Then when we plan a project, we actually develop a project management plan. A project management plan is, imagine like a document that has many other subplans that explains how the project will be planned, monitored, and executed. And it will be part of the project management plan is plan scope management, plan schedule management, plan cost management, plan quality management, plan resource management, plan communication management, risk management, procurement management, and plan stakeholder engagement. So in other words, in all these plans, I'm going to say how I'm going to define the scope, who I'm going to work with to define the scope, how I'm going to define the schedule, what are my quality standards, and so on, okay? So every time you talk about plan, you think how I'm going to do what, okay? I'm not going to get into details. It might be a little bit fuzzy for you right now, but what I'm trying to explain here, that's the much you have to remember for the exam and to consider in your research. Now, then after I plan everything, I start executing, and I execute based on what I plan. And I monitor all the time. Monitoring means, let's say someone is asking you, what is the progress of our project in terms of cost and schedule? You are doing monitoring control when you are trying to identify the status of your project. So any performance reports of your project relate to monitoring control. Okay, and then obviously you close the project or the phase, and that's very straightforward. This is very, very general. I don't want you to get frustrated in any way. It's PMBOK is a big book. This is very high level, but if you understand what I was trying to say in these 2-3 minutes, that should be very helpful for you to understand along run the processes as well as the knowledge areas. One more thing I want to say here, do not get discouraged in your, this week in week 4, your scores, the tests are not that good. I perfectly understand there are some areas we haven't covered. You didn't have a chance to read about them. So don't get discouraged. We will figure out the grades for this week. We will keep in touch, and as I say, feel free to reach out with any questions you might have about the test, about this weekly discussion topic, and or any other upcoming assignments. Once again, really proud of you. Appreciate all your work that you do. Look forward to hearing from you and to seeing your post and to see your performance at this upcoming test. Have a great week. Thank you.